Well, if you read Joseph Campbell or Chris Vogler's The Writer's Journey, you'll learn that there are essentially three major thresholds. The first threshold brings us from the ordinary world into the special world. There's a second threshold that brings us from really the midpoint reversal to the ordeal, to the cave. And then you have a final third major threshold that brings us back to the ordinary world, out of the special world. What are thresholds essentially? They are times in the story, there are stages where the character is ready to move on, where they're ready to move to a next stage. They're not just travel in space or geographical travel. They're not just motion. They are psychological stages. And in that respect, the first threshold is the character being ready to act and being ready to move to a new stage in their adventure, in their life. But this goes for every point in the story. I remember seeing this Australian film where somewhere early in the film you have this massive crane shot where the character drives off, and I go, why? All they need to do is drive to the police station. There's no major emotional event that preceded this. So it didn't make any sense. It felt wrong. You don't have thresholds, you don't have travel in a film unless there is some metaphorical underpinning. There's a reason for a character to move on to a next stage. And if you have a truly dramatic film, a truly powerful, action-driven film, you'll find that often you have these thresholds at the end of each sequence. In that respect, every road movie is one long threshold, and road movies are about moving on. They are the ultimate hero's journey in the sense that they are about transformation. So they're stop, start, stop, start. And each time they've resolved an issue in their psychological progress, they're ready to move on to the next stage, and they'll get stuck again and they need to resolve it and they move on. So that's what thresholds are really about. Interesting, if you look at films such as Star Wars: A New Hope and Indiana Jones: Raiders of the Lost Ark, they have a double threshold at the end of Act 1. And it's really powerful. Why? Because when Luke Skywalker goes with Obi-Wan in this hover thing to Mos Eisley, he's left his home, but he hasn't gone all the way yet. He's not in deep space yet. So it's from Mos Eisley that he goes on this second threshold into deep space. And now we know he's really far from home. So that gives us the separation that Joseph Campbell speaks about. We need to be far away from our comfortable home. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indy first leaves the university, goes to Nepal to pick up Marion. So yeah, that's far away, but he goes even further when he leaves Nepal for a second threshold to go to Egypt, where the actual story takes place. So that's very powerful. You'll see that when the character makes an important step in their journey, there'll be movement. The example that's typical is the end of Act 2, going into Act 3. We regain the energy. We go back into the ordinary world, and that's often a chase. There's often a chase going on. So chase scenes are often at these junctures: end of Act 1, end of Act 2.